Winters. Oh. Well, I remember when I came out of the army. It's 1947, wasn't it? And the snow was terrific then. It was really bad. You know, your garden walls were here. The snow was here on the top. But I was home. And you could enjoy it.
I'm not really sure what year it was. I was 16 and I worked at Shepherd's at Gateshead. That was my first job. It's not there anymore. It's where Tesco's at Gateshead is. It's getting pulled down and rebuilt. It used to be there, and it was really, really bad. It started snowing in the morning and it snowed all day, and it came down so heavily that it was a big department store. It closed early and sent all home. But my dad came and met us. My dad was older when he had me, you know, I had a very sheltered life. But I've always remembered he came all the way down. He had a long way from Hollow Green to come down to Gateshead Town Centre to meet us from work. And then we had really a terrible time to get home. It took a few hours. But he was an ex-bus driver, so he knew all the bus routes and bus things. So we ended up getting a bus from Gateshead through to Lowfell. But the bus didn't go anywhere near where we lived, so we got off at Lowfell and we were sort of bus hopping as we could. It took a long time to get home and it was very, very scary. And then there was another time after that when I was younger. We lived at Beacon Lough, and I think that may have been in the 60s. And we lived at the top of a hill at Beacon Lough, and he was a bus driver, and he took his bus past the bottom road. You could see him go past, and his bus got stuck in the snow, so he got outside to dig it out, and the bus conductor he had used to fall asleep, and he fell asleep and my dad couldn't get back in, so he came back home, and I'll not tell you what he said because this is on film. He was not too pleased, but he was always desperate for the toilet, so he says, I'm going to go to the toilet and I'm having a cup of tea before I go back down there. Give him another hour to sleep. He had no people on, he had just getting all the people off, you know, picked the bus up, like, and the bus was stuck at the bottom of our street. You could see it at the bottom and ready to go onto the main road, and the conductor was asleep, so we just came back up home and had a cup of tea, and I've always remembered that as well.
Going out sledging when I was small, sliding down on a shovel. If we hadn't the sledge, we went down on a shovel.
We did.
We did. You only had one fire to keep you warm, and that didn't go all the way around the house. You have a place to get home to bed. Yeah, you then went to bed upstairs. The kitchen fire got burned. You know, before, in the olden days, whenever I thought of water bottles, you know what we used to warm the bed with? Wrap the oven shelf in a blanket and put it in your bed.
Well, some people I don't think it affects, because I have one neighbour myself, she's 83, and she has no family. She has nephews and nieces that live in Yorkshire, and she never sees anyone but myself and another neighbour across the back. She doesn't like anybody other than the ones like myself and this other neighbour going. She'll not let anyone else in past the door. So one of my old neighbours, because I've only lived there 7 years, I said, you must have something when she's taking a liking to you too. That's Arthur and me. But we do take a soup in the winter, give her hot things like that, and whenever we're, Arthur loves to make peas pudding and stuff like that, we always give her some like that, or a bit of home bacon. And the other neighbour across the way, her husband goes and does her shopping for the week, but she's quite happy sitting in. She's not bothered about about anyone. She never watches television, just for the news, turns it off, goes to bed by 6:30, so it doesn't bother her. But in some cases, I know it can be very lonely life for a lot of old people.
Terrible. It's a lonely life. Quiet. Being on your own. It is. And you don't realise it till you are on your own. You know.
I think it can cause loneliness and depression, and I think it must be very sad that a lot of older people haven't got any family or any friends or anybody to rely on, and I can't believe there's people that haven't got anybody, and it must be hard to keep themselves occupied, especially if they're not well enough to go out and socialise. There's a lot of older people fitter than me, thankfully they put me to shame, but there's a lot, you know, who cannot go out, and I think for that reason we should, you know, make sure we take care of them, look in on them, do a bit of shopping for them. Just sometimes they just want a phone call or just a visit, a cup of tea.
Put your heating up high regardless of the price. keep all your blankets on you and stay in bed.
Plenty of hot drinks, plenty of hot food, i.e. soup, porridge in the morning, and make sure your heating's at a reasonable temperature.
You've got to keep yourself moving. Go dancing, lovely.
The last dance for me. Save the last dance, the very last dance for me.
The time now, very nearly 3 o'clock. The next programme on BBC One, Songs of Praise, follows at 3:15 after a trade test transmission.